Good morning, afternoon, evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are here at flinttalkradio.com for a special edition of a program that we're doing here to bring to you Mr. Don Pfeiffer and Mr. Darwin Jiles, who's no stranger here to the studio, and I'm George Moss, the host of the program that comes on at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. What's going on the most important podcast program in the country. We are the studio trying to be your number one studio. I want you to watch all the programs here at flinttalkradio.com. This afternoon, we have with us Mr. Don Pfeiffer, who is a candidate for the 49th District, and Mr. Darwin Jiles is here from the Flint Urban Culture. Mm-hmm. And we're very happy to have both of you here. Let me start off, Don, with you, though, in terms of you are a candidate for the 49th District. You're taking the place of Mr. The name
Jim Ananich,
who went to the senatorial position, and you are running in a very tough district there. But you seem to be a pretty confident person here. So, what makes you feel that you're going to break the trend here in the 49th? We haven't had a Republican in that district since Truman. So, what we know you're going to break the mold. Well, how are you going to do it?
Well, we're going to break the mold by if you poll the district, it's not. We see that we've strategically voted Democrat for most of the time, but there's a new season. There's people that are leaning more central on the social issues, which we are heavily involved in that. And if you look at the past and what the Democrats have done for the area, I think they've failed. So it's time for new leadership, someone that's going to take it serious, someone that lives in the bruised and battered area. I live in the city of Flint. I'm a resident, born and raised, graduated from Flint Southwestern Academy. I'm involved in the area. This isn't a politic game to me. This is something that we're taking serious, and we're taking it serious every single day.
Okay, and I know you're bigger than just your candidacy. What made you throw your hat in the ring given this particular election?
Well, it come down to I don't see anyone else that's going to make an impact. I know we can make an impact, and if not me, who? Mm-hmm. And if not now in this season, when? And
the when is very important. I think that the people are looking for a change given how the status quo is not working, and so I think your candidacy is a breath of fresh air. Darwin, you're everywhere. I see you're on Facebook, and we're commenting back and forth on Facebook, and you're all over the community, and we hear your name all the time. How did you get involved with Don?
Well, actually, I was very impressed with Don come the mayoral race that he actually entered in some time ago. And I think Don hit the nail on the head. I'm really attracted to individuals and leaders who are community focused and who have the moral values that we all share and all we value. And so as a result of me seeing him being a family man, being a businessman, and really wanting to make a divine difference and not just be about politics. So, regardless of the election turnout, we're here. We're here to stay. And I respect him. And I respect his stance to not just be status quo. Mm-hmm. He could have come around. He could have just thrown checks at everybody. He's chose to take a different approach. He's chosen to, regardless of turnouts, whether it's disappointment or success, to say, you know what, we have to make a difference. Regardless, as he said, if not now, then when? Mm-hmm. And so it's really about having an awakening in a community, in a social gathering, so that individuals such as Don, regardless if he loses, I mean, the community should be outcrying and saying, why aren't we voting for new leadership? Why aren't we voting or supporting community activities by leaders who truly prove on a daily basis that, listen, this is for the future of my kids? I believe he made a statement to me. He said, Darwin, it's not just about my kids, but all kids. He said, listen, if we don't change this thing now, our children won't have anything to look forward to. And if you look at how Flint and just Genesee County has been deteriorated by the failed leadership here, you have to say the liberal leadership here, I mean, it's just proven. Why would you continue to day in and day out vote for the same leadership and expect a different result. I mean, that is insanity. And so we make that difference. We've been making a difference, and we're going to do it regardless.
That's a question I keep coming back to, and that is why are we continuing to vote the same persons in? And we see the failed policies that they represent, and we continue to do that. So the time is now, and we'll see how that works out. Don, what is your political background otherwise, and what have you been doing in the community beyond this scope?
The political background, I run for mayor in 2011, and we lost considerably. And it was the awakening point that it seems to be the status quo, that they're still going to vote regardless of the record of the individual. And so it gets down into pressing this thing a little further and a little harder and a little deeper to get to the root of the issue. And the root of the issue is the things that we're doing in the community. It's the reach out, and we'll be hopefully launching something with our troubled youth by the year's end. We've been having private meetings to get the demographic problem, the young men that are troubled and having a hard time with employment and being mentored by real men. That issue is the one that's the most important to me, is to stand up as a man and fix the young men, to reach out a hand and give them a hand up, not a handout.
How did you, the two of you community-minded persons meet? How did you happen to get together and you're doing work together at this point? How did that happen?
Well, I would like to say, we have a lot of individuals behind the scenes that work with us. And so, without mentioning names, I mean, we have individuals who do connect us, who, at times may reference this or reference that. And, I'm a self-initiator too. So if I research someone and I've studied them, I'll reach out to them. And just right off the back of the head, I know we probably have previous minimum contact before, and so I personally felt this was the time is now, giving the fact that he was making a bold stance to say, the morals and to stand up against abortion and different things, and really the godly biblical values that I value, and every church going person in Flint values, this man stands for. So when he let that be known, I said, I would be less than godly, or to be my brother's keepers in a sense of not supporting him and helping the community to say, hey, we have leadership here that really makes a difference morally and ethically. And I respect him on a lot of different levels, and I don't respect or give my public endorsement or anything like that. When I find something credible or something that I feel is worth taking a look at or to research or just to follow, I make that be known. I mean, I look at his family, and honestly, as a young man, being 28 and single, I see myself having a family. He has a great testimony concerning his family, and just the things that make him real is why I deal with him, why I work with him. We could walk through the community and he's embraced by all colors, black, white, Hispanic. I mean, it doesn't matter. He's not someone that feels he's above anybody. He's not a showboat. He's down to earth, and he's worked hard for where he is now. And so with that being said, it would be probably impossible for us not to work together, knowing that we both have so much in common and so much likeness.
I'm from Birmingham, and I came here to Genesee County in 1966, and the city was booming, jobs were everywhere.
Correct.
I'm teaching in Beecher, and students would tell me, Mr. Miles, I can quit right now and go across the street, get a job, make more money than you're making. I mean, the city was just that kind of a place, a lot of opportunities. If anyone had told me back in that time period, I'm talking here about 1966, that the city would have been brought to its knees at this point in time, I would not have believed it, given all the things that were going on in the whole county. And I just never could have foreseen that the bottom would have fallen out because of some bad decision making that had occurred, bad leadership.
Correct.
In a lot of the urban areas. And then I'm looking to see, okay, how do we bring it back then? And we know that we have arrived here.
Correct.
At this place. Now the question is, what is the restitution? How do we fix it? And that is a question that keeps, coming up, and I don't know a lot of answers I've heard, but we've got to figure this thing out because he's not going to get better on his own.
I will say some of the things I personally deal with, and I'm pretty sure Don has a perspective on that of his own as well, is that you have to be innovative. When leaders fail to have vision, the things that happened with General Motors didn't happen overnight. They were warning us, telling us that they were leaving. You can pull it up. I even think Don said before he researched that, and they said, I mean, it's proven historically, they didn't just pull out and say, just forget Flint. So when you have, again, status quo leadership who failed to plan, failed to be innovative, we're starting to try to do that now, but the moral decline in this area is so bad, it's so toxic culture-wise that you almost can't grow anything here. It's kind of like having soil that's toxic. No matter what you want to plant, it's just until you clean that problem up, that's an issue. And so we have to get back to innovation. So I'll be unfolding some future ideas and things in different organizations I'm working with on different things, but it starts local. It starts with innovation. It starts with vision. When it comes to public safety, that is number one. And, I really do believe the Second Amendment is something we have to really look at with ex-law enforcement and a lot of the military base and a lot of the security that we do have, and actually being able to utilize it in a safe, preventative measure in cooperation with the police. And that's just one thing that I'll be unfolding in more of a workshop type of setting. But it really has worked other places. When you fail to have public safety and you fail to protect yourselves, you're completely vulnerable. Mm-hmm. So public safety and protecting yourself is not an option. Okay, that is something you have to do regardless if tax money or funds are there or not. And so allowing the community to realize that is one of those issues. And that's just my personal take on just some of the things, that I think could turn things around and will, because they're happening in other places like Oakland County and other, where people are more secure, not because of the police, but they protect their homes. They police themselves. They have leadership within the community that stand up. Their churches stand up and protect. We need that here in Genesee County.
I like any program where people are talking about mentorship.
Correct.
Of the youth. I think we can all say that, we were helped by somebody. We can point to some individual that pushed us forward.
Correct.
Nobody's self-made. And I look back at the community I came out of in Birmingham, and I was one of those children out there that could have gone either way. And I had an intervention in my life in 12th grade. Mrs. Reed, through an accusation, I had written a paper, and we were always reading in our community. We always had comic books and things like that. We trade them with the other persons down the street. So we were constantly reading. Didn't have a lot of televisions in the neighborhood, and I was learning to read, and I was writing based upon reading a lot. And one day I was in class in 12th grade, and Mrs. Reed called me to the desk, and she said, "I don't think that you wrote this paper," and asked me what was in it. And I began to tell her what I had written, and she waved me quiet. She said, "Okay." She said, "You wrote it. Go back and sit down." I'll tell you, I could have, and I tell students this all the time as my testimony, I could have gone back to my seat angry because I'd been falsely accused.
Correct.
I went back to my seat. I was floating on a cloud. They had 15 more minutes in the class period before the bell sounded, and I sat there 15 minutes before that bell rang, and I was in awe of myself. And I said, boy, if she thinks I cheated, I'm pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been writing her name ever since. But she helped me. And I think that even in those kind of circumstances, you can find something that meant it to you to push you out of where you were, because we all get stuck on stupid.
Correct.
And that pushed me forward. And I think that's really the reason why I embrace my skill, my talent, and I can't stop writing. And I think Mrs. Reed is a catalyst. So I think we can all say that somebody pushed us. So I get to ask you this question. I'm leading into a question I want to ask both of you, and that is, okay, so you're doing a lot of community work here, and I don't think that's still born in terms of it coming out of nowhere.
Correct.
So your community involvement, Don, and yours, Darwin, comes out of what energy? What do you point to say that this is what got you pushed forward in what you're doing right now? What are those catalyst events?
Well, I can tell you, for me, it was being married for 15 years and we told that we couldn't have any children, and that out of nowhere we become pregnant, and sitting back before my son was born 4 years ago, and contemplating where I was at as a man and it was that feeling of completion. I was done. I'm complete as a man. A happy wife, happy life. Now I've been blessed with a child, successful in construction, and it become, okay, where's my legacy?
Mm-hmm. What do you want to leave behind?
Who am I as a man? If I'm happy, now it's my turn to give back to whoever can't have that opportunity. So now I feel it. I don't feel the demise of the city, the county, the state, the country as a fault of one thing other than failed men. I think we as men have failed in every aspect. So to step forward out of my comfort zone and to every day focus on what difference am I making in someone else's life becomes the critical pendulum on which way we swing as a society. And I'm blessed with the opportunity to have fallen next to Darwin and with the same principles, and being 15 years younger than myself. I mean, I found someone that is going to carry that well after I'm gone with the same ideas and principles. There's more of us out there,
right?
A lot more than people want to admit.
And
even within Genesee County, even within Flint. And so our job is to bring forth those alliances, and we've done a great job. I mean, from Flushing to Davidson to, I mean, we have leaders out there that are ready to storm. We're going to get troops, okay, definitely in the field here to make a serious impact. And again, this is not political. This has to change for our quality of life.
Yes, Darwin, I have to ask you, because I don't see a lot of young. I work with young people at the university.
Yeah.
And I come in contact with those who have gone wayward. I had a class out the Lapeer prison for 3 years, and I was teaching out there, and they were just brilliant. I'm just behind the walls with these people and teaching, and I'm saying, wow, we could have just gotten them before they got behind these walls, could have made a contribution. But when I see a young man like yourself, so grounded, and which I don't see every day, even at the university, I have to ask, what in the world pushed you into the place where you are right now?
Well, I have to say this too before I answer that. I do run across a lot of youth that they do give you a lot of praise, Mr. Moss. They say you the man in their words. They say when actually they've lectured under you, and they say you really know your facts. So I just want to let you know that is something that precedes you reputation-wise as well. But for myself, honestly, I'm a big faith Bible person. I have to give my credibility and my testimony to Jesus Christ. That is, it's a lot of people who are into religion, and I tell people all the time, I'm for relationship. I'm not for religion. And the Bible is a government book, a book of principles. And when you conduct yourself in such way through relationship, you become better. And that divine nature change is what made me who I am, on top of Dr. Brenda Brown, the director of Baker College Learning Support Services, from Janie Stewart Corporate Services, from, Ricky Smiley. I mean, just a lot of different people throughout the community, that helped me. A lot of the pastors from, Pastor Brown, Pastor Jones, you name them. A lot of people put a lot of talent and a lot of their personal wisdom in me, and they helped guide me. And of course, it was up to me to be driven, and so I had to really put forth effort than the average. I would say it hasn't been an easy road. There's times when I've had to put an extraneous amount of effort in just time into just cultivating that person. And it does. You lose friends, you go through ups and downs, but you learn to weather the storm. And you know that when you come out, that you're stronger than you were before. And so for me, it's just investing in yourself year after year, day after day. After so long, you really are transformed. You really are different. You grow. And we're in a society where people are so stagnated, and they're not as progressive in a sense. And so that's really what made me different, and I continue to build and learn. I'm in grad school now, 2 business degrees. I've been working in corporate America for 3.5 years now. Big on mentorship, focus on, helping single parents now within Genesee County, just different things that I've mentorship people have given to me. So I'm ready to give back. And that's just really, really big. I mean, those things, my grandparents who, worked at General Motors and Hurley Hospital, who are deceased now, they put a lot into me. I have a lot of people, even my uncle Charles Winfrey, who, when I was a little boy, following Woodrow Stanley, as much as I opposed him and his leadership, at the time, I didn't know what I was doing and I didn't know what I was being prepped for. But he taught me how to canvas a neighborhood like nobody else. And so that all helped with my preparation and who I am. And I don't even think he understood how much I picked up on it, but I did. So when you look at how I network and do things now, a lot of that credit does go to him, and a lot of different people who've helped me do that. So I mean, I've been blessed, and my heart now in life is to give back, because I've been through what I've been through. It's so important now that I give back, because there's so many hopeless people that feel that there's no hope, it can't get better. And I say, listen, between 2004 and 2008, I lost my immediate family. Both of my parents been to prison. As a juvenile, I was wayward through the system. If I can go through all of this and become, pursuing a master's degree, and not only that, but go through an accelerated, programs where I have business degrees and different credentials. If God can do it for me, he can do it for you. And if I can be embraced and sit with CEOs and governors and lieutenant governors, then you can do the same thing. I don't care what your situation is.
I think a lot of it is, the adults have got to play a role in holding the youth in place until they can get it. My mom kept telling me, and I never understood it when I was coming up, but she kept telling me, if you think I'm wrong, live long enough. And I'm thinking, as a child, I'm saying, I don't care how long I live, I still think she's going to be wrong, no matter my age. Well, you know what? I lived long enough, and my mom was telling me I would get to a point where I would understand her. And I finally, I think you get there, but you have to have some adults that are going to say no to certain things that youth want to do, because we want to go out of control. I mean, I wanted to be my own boss. I didn't have the information I needed to process, but I thought I did. And I didn't want my mom telling me what to do, because my friends were free flowing, and I'm here locked down, and they are out here having all this fun. But mom kept telling me, I was mad at my mom, but my mom kept telling me, if you think I'm wrong, just live long enough. And I guess I'm like Whoopi Goldberg, who said that her mom, when she was 16 years old, she said, when I have my own family, I'm going to do everything different from my mom. And it's amazing how we sound like our parents once we become the adults, because what our mom and what our dad, those of us had dads in the household, were telling us was right, but we couldn't understand them because of the generational difference, which is always experiential, where the experience is different in this level than it is on another level. And how can you understand it when the experiences are so different? And my mom, and I'm sure you can say the same thing, saw it for me when I couldn't see it for myself. And now I'm an adult who I have responsibilities, and I see it through that lens, because I'm now that person. But I would not have been that person if they not played that role. So your mentoring is very important, and I'm glad to see people that are community minded. Is what I'm saying, because without that, I don't know where any of us would be.
Yeah. And see, for me, I was raised by my grandparents, and so my grandfather was very strict and disciplined. And in fact, my father kind of called me Joe Willie III, because I was so different from my father. And I was just, my granddad ran the business, a landscaping and lawn care service. He had numerous accounts throughout the city. And when he actually passed away, I was able to actually run his business. So even being a young business owner, I learned the headache and the rewards of that, and just how hard work and work ethic does pay off. And I watched them day in and day out do this. So I got a different take on, life and what you can have and what you can inspire. Being African American and still being hard, not being entitled, to feel like you're entitled to anything, or being bitter, blaming a white man, or anything that sometimes keeps our culture stagnated. My grandfather got up and worked every day, and he did it. He got it. He was a go-getter, and he did it legitimately. He didn't sell drugs. If he wasn't doing that, he was taking pictures in the clubs. He was doing anything he could do legitimate to make extra money. And I think that entrepreneurship is another key to this area in Genesee County that will bring back. It's not about getting jobs. I hate hearing people just talk about jobs. America was built on entrepreneurship and you being able to take hold of your destiny.
That's a good
where individuals could we have first generation millionaires. Well, how do you have a first generation millionaire? Well, somebody had an idea, was brave enough to go out, write it down, and actually go after it. And through the ups and downs and the heartache, crying, and pain, the reward eventually comes, because you reap in due season if you faint not. So you got to understand that we need entrepreneurs, people that if you can braid hair, you need to be braiding as much hair as you can. If you can do nails, if you can cut hair, if you can learn a trade, if you can cut grass, rake. You have to do something to get yourself in business, create your own jobs. And that is something that must change the dynamics of this area. So that's something that I'm going to really focus on, entrepreneurship, but given my business background and just my academic training. And so those are things that for me that I learned firsthand through my grandparents that really made me different, because I was raised by individuals who valued life. They valued a work ethic. They valued education in the sense that they were deprived. My grandfather would tell me stories about being on witnessing this plantations and different things. So when people talk about anything with, where I am successfully now, they don't have a clue of where I come from or where, what I've had to go through to work hard to where I am. So yes, I am brand new in a lot of sense, but I'm very down to earth, and I care, and I know that entitlements and handouts will not do it. Personal responsibility is what we have to emphasize. Personal responsibility and social responsibility, and putting morality and ethics back in the community, back in government, because politicians in general, without you having a component in a leadership of servanthood, you're really there for special interests.
I don't hear that those words enough. The civil rights leaders are talking about all these grievances that they conjure up and making things up. Oprah couldn't buy a purse over in Switzerland, all that nonsense. And how they continue to try to find some reason not to push others forward. But the real key to it is what you're saying, Darwin, is personal responsibility.
Yeah.
You got to, at some point in time, stop making excuses why you can't go forward and grab what is out there. In fact, I tell you this, I went to a segregated school, and I never heard them telling me about the people out there. We saw Wallace and we saw Bull Connor out there. He was a police commissioner in Birmingham. They never mentioned their name in the classroom. They were telling us what we had to do. And I kept hearing for 12 years, not knowing why, I had to be twice as good. You got to be twice as good. That's what the teachers told us. And they told us from grade 1 to grade 12. And when I found it, I didn't understand until I got to grad school. I was at Michigan State in Eastern. And somehow the word got around that I had come out of these segregated schools in the South, and they said, "Oh, George, we heard about your background, and we feel so bad about it, and we're so sorry to hear about you coming out of that era." And I said, "I don't want you all feeling sorry for me, because when they give that first test, I'm going to be right at the top of the food chain," because they had grounded in us the idea that we could not be these dependent persons that's out here, woe is me, look how they're treating us and all that. The question is, what are the opportunities that are there? And grab those, make the most of it, and move on. Do what you can do. We at one time, what I heard was a can-do type of community. And I don't know if you've seen this film, Darwin and Don, but this film called The Help. If you haven't seen it, you have to see this film. It's where these women are working in these homes in the South as domestics. And although they are lowly employed, you never hear them talking about it. And I cried during that film because I saw my mother in that film. My mother never came back talking about how lowly her job was situated or how little her pay was. My mom was glad to be able to put some shoes on her children's feet, because the idea was she's going over there doing all the hardship, washing floors, whatever, dishes, cleaning people's homes, but she saw it as not doing that job. She saw it as feeding her kids.
Correct.
And she never criticized the people for the position that she was in. She just felt that she was gifted. She was glad to have that. And now I'm have a little bit more than what she had because of her experience. I didn't stay where she was. I went above that. And I think we have to kind of get that point out to the youth.
And real quick, too, because, a lot has been said about Dr. Martin Luther King and different things recently. And most people haven't really said, have you heard a speech, most young people, from Dr. Martin Luther King? When you hear this man speak, personal responsibility could have been his name, okay? He wasn't the person that was taking it lightly on his people.
Yes.
Oh, he was very well about holding them accountable.
Exactly.
He was very well about being empowered. He was all well about you taking your destiny. He was all about that. And when you look at Dr. Martin Luther King, one of the things that's very well kept from, by liberals of the truth is he was a Republican. People don't understand that Republicans, when you look at the 13th and 14th Amendment, as far as voting rights and different things and giving African Americans voting rights, that all was through the Republican Party. 34% of our Constitution is drafted from the Bible. So what individuals don't understand is that people like Abraham Lincoln, great leaders, and Martin Luther King, these were divine moral men. I believe I seen on Don Pfeiffer's page that Martin Luther King was coined as the moral leader of our nation. So if he was assassinated, who took over? Mm-hmm. So it's time we get morality and stand for what's right and get these things back in our community, back in our society, back in our families, because at the rate of single parents, at the rate of abortion, at the rate of these things, it is just killing us. We're not moving forward, and it ain't the white man, okay? And most people are using the whole civil rights gimmick. We're not. Look, we got more than enough opportunity. We won't take advantage of the opportunity. That's the problem. Mm-hmm. Which you have to look at the drug culture as accountability and so many other things that we would have to do a continual series about to really discuss this. But all of those things make a difference. And I even put on my Facebook today through Flint Urban Culture, life doesn't owe you anything, but you owe yourself a fighting chance. You owe yourself that to fight every day you have breath to make a difference, and know that if you do your part, God will do the rest.
Don, what do you say is the number one thing that we need to be doing for the youth? I know you're mentoring in the community. How do you see this problem being arrested in terms of maybe the number one priority of what we ought to be doing as a community?
Well, just like you learned in school that you needed to do twice as much, I think as men as a whole, we need to do twice as much to reach out, and where the community and as leaders we've failed to reach out and give a hand up. And I think the most important aspect of this is to reach out and institute a self-pride and a self-worth into each one of those young men and women. Once we can get that rebuilt and let them know that they can do anything they want in this world, because that's what I was told. So, and I believe that if we can instill that little bit of belief and self-worth into each one of them, then the next generation can flourish.
I really believe that, Don, because I'm this kid wearing cardboard in my shoes. I was very poor. And I remember we had this little scrub board in the kitchen. We scrub our clothes on the scrub board and then hang them out in the line. And one day the Clorox bottle fell off into the tub and it bleached my jeans. So everyone knew that I'm wearing the same jeans every day because those spots were the same place. I went through that classroom that whole year wearing those pants, and they were laughing. But I was in that classroom thinking that one day they won't be laughing at me. And when I went back to my reunion, I was the speaker at our reunion, and I was asking them, I said, a lot of you were laughing, but I want to know how you like me now.
And see, that's the hard struggle that our community and our youth don't have. It's better to have a little and do what's right than it is to have a whole lot of iPod, Nike, Jordan this, and you don't even want to go work. You don't even want to clean your own yard. You don't even want to clean up your own room, and you think everything is handed to you and given down. That is an ethical problem, a moral problem, and through things like what Don Pfeiffer said, through mentoring and helping show men how to be men, or boys how to be men, we got to do that.
We got to do that. How do you how do you enter into the conversations with youth to get that message across? Your message is powerful and profound. So what are the entry points to be able to have that conversation? I mean, a person's wearing his pants on the ground, and we always know we ought to intervene. Why tell them, pull your pants up? And sometimes it's very hard to get in the proximity position to be able to, enter into what they ought to be doing, some things they ought to be thinking about. And so what is everybody got a strategy. So what kind of strategy would you give us something we can...
To continue to live on a daily basis with integrity and to set something out there to realize that everybody is watching or could be watching, to set an example. There's no heroes left. So to be out there and to put up young heroes like Darwin, you don't have to say much. Mm-hmm. You just have to let him get out in front and walk because everybody's watching. Mm-hmm. So to set an example like we have next to us, mm-hmm. and to let everyone know that the struggles that he's been through and what's possible, all we have to do is direct the pathways and live that life of fulfillment and let everyone and every young man and woman know that it's possible. Mm-hmm. And so to get into the heartbeat of it, and through introductions and community leaders, the people that are going to truly stand up and make a difference, that's what it's going to take, is to migrate into those forces and those groups and not become one of them, but to become a set aside so that they see what could be possible.
Mm-hmm. Some time ago, I remember Charles Barkley saying that he was not a role model. And I want to use that to ask you about, how do you see this whole thing of role models? Athletes are pretty powerful as far as images in our community, entertainers, JC, and these kind of figures. When you think of role models, are you thinking in terms of the national kind of role models? Or are you talking about people that are in the community have to role model the behavior that they want around them, so they don't have to look outside, to national figures to see someone they can emulate?
I know for me personally, I don't want a mentor that I only see on TV. I want one that I can reach out and touch, that I can pick up a phone and say, I'm struggling here, what do you suggest? Or you want them touchable. Mm-hmm. You want them real. The TV facade that's exactly what it is. There's nothing to say that those people are real and that's how they act on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. So it takes us in the community to be there, that they can pick up a phone, that they can reach out and they can touch, and they know that you're real. And when you tell them you're going to do something, you're doing it. When you tell them you're going to be there at 11 o'clock, you're there, so that you don't fail that expectation, because they're looking for anything that's real. Mm-hmm. And if you can be tangible and real, that's more than anything right now, is to let them know you're going to be there for them. Mm-hmm.
I can definitely testify to that. I'm from the era of Amos and Andy, and we watched that stuff on television. That was just characters on television. But in our neighborhood, we had the teachers. We all bundled up in the same community. Had the teachers there, the dentists, the preachers, the derelicts, all in the same community. So we had a number of people we could say, okay, that's one image, and there were some other images there as well. And I really do think we have to look at who are the role models in the community. And some of it is going to have to be not so much maybe dialoguing about it. What are the examples we're setting? What kind of life are we living? So they can take a snapshot picture of how the behavior looks in those who are the adults in the community. I see adults wearing their pants like the kids are wearing it.
Correct.
I mean, this is
one of the problems is,
incredible.
and I know for the sake of time, I'm going to just say this. You have a culture, a very toxic culture, that has commercialized many inappropriate behaviors. You mentioned it, Jay-Z's, and you're correct. Well, but that's who is leading it. Most of these rappers now that we look up to are in their 30s and 40s. People don't know that. But yeah, they're older, okay, and they know better.
That's a good point.
And more
Excellent.
importantly, they don't allow their own kids necessarily to be like that. But they're doing it for personal gain. So when you talk about these role models, they have to be role models that they're not necessarily doing it for a benefit or getting anything in return. I mean, for so long through Flint urban culture, and Don is saying, we spend our own money for this. Like, we don't, we find sponsors, we find investors, we find people, but this is not, we're not profiting off of this. We're doing this to truly make a difference. And that's what real role models do.
I definitely believe that's what you're doing. We need more people like you, Don, to get into politics. Someone that has a statesman-like attitude about what they're trying to do. It's not political. It's going to have to be about solution making and solving problems. And I think that's what you're trying to do and bring things to the community that can be realized in the youth lives. We've got to make a difference, and I'm glad to see you all doing that work. We want to thank both of you for coming into the studio. And Don, it's been a pleasure meeting you for the first time. I will watch your campaign in the 49th District. And Darwin, I see you everywhere, so I know I'll be running. It's hard to avoid this guy. I want to thank you again for coming in, and thank you for a very lively conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.